What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome to another video. And it's finally here. Finally. I think we did the last video, what, a year ago? I think it was a year ago. In April, May of last year, we did the first video about that they were going to be updating the hours of service. Well, it's finally here. As of yesterday, May 14th, they have modernized the hours of service. Sorry, I almost messed up that word. But yes, they have modernized it. It's not new hours of service, if you will. They are calling it the modernized version of your hours of service. So let me get out my notes here. That way we can go over this information. First and foremost, for anybody that's new, my name is Blaine Evans. I go by Trucking Life on YouTube. Well, if you found the channel, then you know that. But I like to do videos about trucking, help truck drivers out, any new drivers, any videos that I can put out to try to help you guys, any knowledge that I can. I'm originally from the flatbed side of things. I've done flatbed, step deck, dry van, been an owner-operator, company driver. I've even had my own authority. But anyways, that's enough about me. We're not here about me, just giving you a little bit of back history. If you guys do want to find out more information, feel free to visit this website here, FMCSA.dot.gov. That's where all of my information comes from, so I'm shooting it straight from the FMCSA. I don't put out any information to you guys unless it is posted on the FMCSA. I'm not going to put out something that somebody else is hearsay, essentially. So I wait for it to be put up on the FMCSA website before I bring it to you guys, and then I go through and I do my research and I read the material. I make sure I understand it prior to bringing it to you guys. So with that being said, thanks to, I think it was Eduardo that sent me a message last night on YouTube. I appreciate it. He was making sure that I was going to put out this video, so thanks, man. Yes, I'm going to put out the video. You knew it was coming, obviously. But anyways, so let's get straight into it. Let's get kind of the boring stuff out of the way, and then we'll touch bases on the key points. So what we're going over, obviously, is the U.S. Department of Transportation modernized hours of service. That's what happened yesterday. They modernized the hours of service, so essentially they just made adjustments to the hours of service we already had. The next point that we're going to go over, it has an implementation date of 120 days is what they're saying right now on the FMCSA. Sorry, I'm trying to kick over my Harley. Of 120 days, and all this means is that's the proposed date. So that's the proposed date that this modernization is going to go live, essentially. So don't go out and start doing this stuff today or tomorrow. You have to wait for this date. So I'm not sure. It said from the date that it was filed, and so I don't know if that was May 15th or May 14th. I don't know if that was yesterday or if it had been filed. I didn't dig that deep, and so I can't give you guys exactly what the 120 days is going to look like. But it's going to be somewhere around 120 days from May 14th. So is when we can see these changes go live, is the way that I understood this. So and then another point that they wanted to point out is that by making these regulation changes, essentially, it's going to have an effect. It's going to save $274 million in regulation savings, or regulatory savings, which they didn't really specify, but that's going to produce more jobs and help the economy recover. And so essentially how that works is, so by going in and cutting down items off of regulations, then you're essentially saving money. So that's how a regulation saving works. And so by them going in and cutting down on some of the regulations, they're actually saving money. But this is what their proposed savings is going to be, and this is million. Sorry, I forgot to write million in there. So 274 million in regulatory savings, which is going to create more jobs and help our economy recover, essentially. But all right, done with all that stuff. Hopefully you guys all understood that. That stuff's kind of, you know, you need to know the 120 days, obviously, because don't start doing this stuff as of yet, because you might get in trouble. Alright, so the first key point we're going to touch on is your 30-minute break. So you guys all know that your 30-minute break, you used to have to do your 30-minute break off duty, which means, you know, within the first 8 hours of you driving, you had to do a 30-minute break, and it had to be logged as off duty. And so you had to find a truck stop, find a rest stop, find an exit, an on-ramp, an off-ramp, whatever, pull over, stop, and then essentially go into your ELD, go off duty, sit there, wait, whatever, 30 minutes. Sometimes it was just a pain in the butt. Well, sorry, I did that wrong. I just noticed that I totally messed that one up. Well, now with the new one, it says the agency will increase safety and flexibility for the 30-minute break rule by requiring a break after 8 hours of consecutive driving and allowing the break to be satisfied by a driver using on duty. So, not driving status rather than off-duty status. So now you can do it while you're on duty. And so essentially the biggest thing here is, so now you could do this, say, like while you're fueling. So you could pull up, stay logged in, you know, have your ELD automatically switch over, you know, once you're stopped for 5 minutes, it switches you over to just on duty. And then, or just switch it to on duty yourself and take your 30-minute break on duty, which is going to be amazing. So that's pretty cool. That's, you know, a huge benefit right there is that you can just do that on duty. So they're still not going to allow you to drive more than 8 hours without taking a break. That's just not going to happen. You're still going to have to take a break within that first 8 hours, or right at 8 hours. But the only thing that's changed is you can now do this 30-minute break while you're on duty. So that's that. So your sleeper berth is your next key point. So they're switching up your sleeper berth a little bit. If you guys have watched my video, I spelled it right. If you watched my my sleeper berth video that I did quite a while ago, I put an I right here in the last one, and so I got some hell for that in the comments. But I spelled it right on this one. Now you guys just made me mess it up. But anyways, so your sleeper berth now, you're going to be able to do an 8 and 2 split, which is normal. You know, that we went over in my other video, or you can do a 7 and 3 split. They both work the same way. They both roll around the clock. The only difference is these are not going to count against your 14-hour clock anymore, which is huge. And so when you're on your break, whether it's your 7-hour break, your 3-hour break, your 8-hour, or your 2-hour, this 14-hour clock is not going to continue running, which is huge, because that right there is why we all feel rushed, is because even though, you know, we've been driving and then we take our breaks and then this dang clock keeps running, and so we all feel rushed because maybe we need a little extra time, maybe we're a little bit more tired that day, and so maybe, you know, that maybe we do a 7 and a 4 or something. Well, if you did a 7 and a 4, you're going to eat an extra hour of your drive time, but not anymore, because it's not going to be counting down on that 14-hour clock. You're still going to have the remainder of your 14-hour clock when you're done with your break, is the way that it's worded so far. So the way that they have it wrote out here on the FMCSA website is, the agency will modify the sleeper berth exemption to allow drivers to split their required 10-hour off-duty into 2 periods, an 8 and 2 split, or a 7 and 3 split, with neither period counting against the driver's 14-hour driving window. So, that's big. I like that one. I like that one a lot. So, alright, another one. The next bullet point is adverse driving conditions. It'll be interesting to see how they do this one and what the limitations are on this one. They don't go into extreme detail on this. They just say that you're going to be allowed 2 additional hours a day for adverse driving conditions, which I don't even think they listed on here. Adverse driving conditions exemption extended by 2 hours. And so, you know, it's obviously going to be things like weather and those type of things. I don't know if this will include, like, say, well, I'm not even going to worry about writing it out because you won't be able to read. I don't know if it's going to include things like rush hour traffic or like holiday traffic. Say you're stuck in traffic. We all know that Thanksgiving weekend is hell. You know, could you use this on that Wednesday before Thanksgiving or the Sunday after Thanksgiving when it takes way too long to go certain places? And so it'll be interesting to see what they suggest that adverse driving conditions are. We know that it'll be weather based, but are they going to add anything else? So, and so all this means is that if you come into contact with like a storm, so like me, I drive a lot in Wyoming. And so if I came into one of the big windy days in Wyoming and got shut down, and they're going to essentially give me 2 extra hours so that I can make up some of my time. And then the last bullet point we're going to go over is for short haul, which probably won't affect a lot of you guys, but they are extending short haul from 12 to 14 hours. You're on duty. And then this one is huge if you work in like places like the oil fields and things of that nature, because they're extending it from 100 to 150 air miles. And I don't know if you guys have ever noticed on like your ELDs or your GPSs, when you first put in an address, it will tell you how far it is in air miles. But that's why it does it, is because of this, because like in the oil fields, you can drive so like say you're here, you can drive 150 air miles and still be considered local or short haul. It doesn't have to be 150 miles on a street. So this could be 300 miles down a squiggly line, but you could still be within 150 air miles within that circle. So if that makes any sense. But anyways, guys, those are the bullet points. That's everything that they are modernizing. I hope this video was helpful. It ended up being a little bit longer than I had planned on, but with that being said, I appreciate everybody for watching. Please leave any comments down below if you have any questions. I do respond to pretty much every comment that I get. Sometimes it takes me a little longer than others, but I try to get back to everybody. So if you could, please like, share, subscribe, and I will see you all on the next video.